Welcome to episode 6 of Crosstown Cardboard. I'm Carmine at Carmine's Cards, the broadcaster, sports and news. And across the way, across New York City from me, is Craig, the math teacher in New York City and former Division III soccer player. So that ties in because we're going to get into some U.S. men's soccer team, which by the time this episode airs and one more episode airs, the World Cup will have started. So lots of drama brewing. And we touched on that in the last episode, episode 5, where we covered some cards and sets. Topps Chrome 2017 was the big one that Craig emphasized to look out for and some guys to talk about. And now we also have not only the World Cup preview with the U.S. men's soccer team and the cards that are related to it, but a big recap of the San Francisco card show that I just went to a few days ago over the weekend. 250 tables, thousands of people. And so we'll get into it. But first, as we've been so consistent, starting with our new pickups. So Craig, do you want to go first with what you got? And then maybe I can show off some of the new digs over here.
Let's do it. And I do apologize in advance if I sound a little off. Not feeling my best. This is my flu game. This is my second flu game in 4 weeks. So I did take off work today, but I didn't take off the podcast because I couldn't leave you hanging. But
the hobby never stops. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Craig. You're pushing through.
I'm as congested as the PSA backlog, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work.
Nice.
I did manage to get some pickups though, because even when you're not feeling good, you need a little cardboard remedy in your life. So I walked to the local LCS, which is pretty awesome. That living here in the New York City on the Upper East Side, there's a card store, a 15-minute walk from me. Not Bleecker, but Alex's MVP. I don't particularly love the shop, but when it's right there, sometimes you need to walk in and see what they got. So I picked up these 3 cards for $15.
Oh, okay.
First one is a Brian Shaw 2001-2002 Topps Champions and Contenders basketball. What is so cool about this is the jersey swatch is game worn from the finals.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So he wore this piece of jersey in the 2001 NBA Finals, which it states right there on the card. So this is a super cool set. I picked up this Rashard Lewis gold refractor out of 99. Not really quite sure why. I'm a sucker for gold.
Well, Rashard Lewis was, he was one of the original stretch fours, and on that Orlando Magic team that Kobe ended up beating in the finals, which that Magic team ruined the chance that we had of seeing LeBron and Kobe meet in the championship. So a little bit bittersweet, but they did have a great team.
You know who else was on this team? My good friend JJ Redick, which we'll get into at another time.
We won't talk too much about JJ, but a little preview.
Look at that segue. And the third card I got, and this is just a nice PC card, Allen Houston, Topps Finest Refractor with the covering still on it. Anytime I see like an old 90s Knicks card, and it's from one of my favorite players, it's a no-brainer. I got to pick this up. So this is a refractor from 98.
Nice. 3 for 15. You're a real hoop fan with those 3 guys.
Pickups for $15. And then, of course, some soccer stuff. Always getting some Mbappe. This is the 2021-22 Donruss Optic. Orange Velocity out of 49.
PSG.
There you go. This is in his France uniform, but can never have too much Mbappe. I also picked up this Mo Salah Prism EPL blue refractor and a PSA 10 out of 199. He is one of the best players, not in the World Cup, but Mo Salah is an absolute legend from Liverpool and Egypt. And my favorite pickup came from my good friend Scotty's sports cards. 2018 Prism World Cup Messi in a silver prism. Great shine to it. And surprisingly, a low pop count of 89.
On that PSA 10, too. And that's the jersey I'm wearing, Lionel Messi.
Look at that. 2 of my 3 soccer pickups are current PSG players. You're wearing a PSG jersey. You're just such a soccer guy.
I was funny story about this jersey, Craig. I was in Barcelona, Spain, which is where I started my fandom for FC Barcelona after going to an FC Barcelona game just a few months ago. So now I'm a
Barcelona again.
2-month soccer fan. I'm a repetitive guy, okay? Which means I like to repeat myself. But anyway, so we when we were going to a club, one of the big nightclubs in Barcelona, I was wearing this jersey because I just got it that day. The guys pull me aside. They're like, hold on, we don't know if we're going to let you in. So I said, oh boy, I might not get into this club with all my friends going in. Thank goodness I was wearing a Messi jersey. And I know it's PSG, but of course he's an FC Barcelona legend. The club bouncer came out and he waved me in and he looked away. He's like, go ahead. I didn't see anything. And he like pretended like he didn't see me because the club dress code.
Sure.
So that was kind of a fun.
Had it been any other player, things would have gotten a little messy for you. That's for sure. So why don't you tell?
Wow, this guy.
Why don't you tell me
gosh,
about your
you're on
pickups,
fire.
Carmine?
Okay, so some of the pickups I got from the San Francisco card show. I traded a youngster for this, which is kind of interesting. It's being see-through if you're watching on the Crosstown Cardboard YouTube
Ooh,
because it's
see-through
the
parallel.
green. Yeah, it's a fast break prism neon green Joel Embiid PSA 9 numbered out of 5. So kind of cool. And the kid who I got it from, he's like 12 years old. And he was like, I was like, oh, follow me on Instagram. We'll stay connected. He's like, I don't have Instagram. I was like, what? He's like, I think life is better without it.
Respect
And I was
that.
like, young guy with a good head on his shoulders to
I
live in the
respect that.
present. And I thought that was really cool. Another one I got, I actually traded my Naomi Osaka SP Authentic rookie BGS 9, which I featured in one of the previous episodes of Crosstown Cardboard, for two of our New York guys here, Craig. Emmanuel Quickly, rated rookie on card auto, optic, numbered out of 49 with the blue color match. And let me know what you think of this. This Tim Tebow, New York Mets, your Mets, 1 of 1, game used piece of jersey or glove. I'm not quite sure, but it's a Leaf Museum of Materials 1 of 1. Does that get you? What's your thought on Tim Tebow as a Mets fan?
Didn't really move the needle for me. It would have been cool to see him in the major leagues, but that dream died. But the card is cool. Even though I give Leaf credit for creating these cool memorabilia cards, even though they can't feature the player's face, like they make the most of what we got. But a 1 of 1 game worn feels like it can't lose from a sports icon. We'll say Tim Tebow. Is that a stretch?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he was a moment in history when people were criticizing him and, oh, this guy, he's making a mockery of the MLB, this and that. And I just thought he was a guy following his dream and seeing if he could make it. So I always respected the fact that he tried to go from football to baseball and 1 of 1 game used. That was pretty cool.
I love that Quickly card. Quickly,
yeah, that Quickly got some
I do
interest.
think Quickly is one of those guys who, as a Knicks fan, we really like him and appreciate him. He's a great player. He's got a lot of style. But when you look at draft classes and the way card prices sell, he's probably a little, I would say, I mean, for a while, his stuff was selling pretty expensive for what's considered a role player. But for us as Knicks fans, it's cool to collect the guys that we're actually going to be watching.
Yeah, that's true too. And I really liked picking up a Quickly card. And this was my big one of the show. This Kevin Durant on card auto, flawless, numbered out of 15 with a big patch, game used from the OKC Thunder days. You said it right, Craig, chunky. And it's definitely a piece of either the number or the letter because you can tell right there on the jersey of how the color goes off. And so I picked that up. I traded, and I'll pull up a picture here for people watching on the Crosstown Cardboard YouTube. I traded a LeBron standing ovation rookie, a Akeem Olajuwon rookie PSA 8, and a LeBron jersey card, plus 1,100 cash. Like you always say, we're not afraid to talk about our numbers here for this KD. And it came from my new buddy, Ricky Fong. And if you're not following him on Instagram,
Crazy
it's
collection.
Ricky. Yeah, Ricky, PHUONG01. This guy, and I'm going to make a vlog on also on the Crosstown Cardboard YouTube
Good.
about San Francisco Card Show recap. And we got some great stuff, some cool deals, incredible showcases there. Ricky had one of the most incredible showcases. And so I was happy to do a deal with him. And we've actually continued talking. He might be making a move on my Tiger Woods SP Authentic rookie that you see.
The one we see
there.
right there.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I mean, Jordan autos an entire row, Kobe autos an entire row. And then somebody came up to him and asked him, "What are your favorite cards that you have in your collection?" He pulled out like a mob boss, Ricky did, out of his puffy jacket pocket, an envelope, took out two LeBron on card rookie autos, put them on the table, and I looked up the price of one of them. It's an SP Authentic, numbered to 500. I'm looking at the picture here, and I'll pull it up on our page as well. BGS 95, last sold on it, Craig, 55K, and he took
That's a
it out
bar
of his
mitzvah.
pocket.
That's two bar mitzvahs.
You'd have to invite your boy Tobias Harris to fly across the country to see this one, just like when he gave you that flashback to the Knicks warm up that you were wearing a few episodes ago.
We
But
should
I was just
segue.
bored.
I want to
Yeah,
segue that right into your recap at the card show because you set up at the San Francisco card show this past weekend. You
yeah.
showed me some absolute heat that was there. And I kind of want you to get into your experience because I know you're a smart guy. You plan well. I'm sure you were very diligent with your setup and your prices and you made sure it was neat. So talk to me like San Francisco card show, big card show. Were you prepared? How different were things than you expected? Take it away.
Yeah. Thanks, Craig. I'll try to help during your flu game. And no, good questions. I thought overall, and I'll get more into this in the vlog coming soon on our page, where I have a bunch of videos and commentary at the show and incredible cards, up to 50K values and stuff like that. I thought there was a lot of people there, a lot of excitement, interest about the hobby. And I also thought there weren't a lot of cash deals happening, which has kind of been a trend that we've been hearing. We're big consumers of podcasts,
Sure.
our buddy Sports Card Therapist, Cousins Collectibles. And I felt the same thing where there were a lot of people looking, not a lot of people buying, as 50 Cent once said, a lot of window shoppers. So that was cool, though. I mean, some fun conversations, people looking and saying, really like the cards, and but not a lot of cash changing hands. I also wonder, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, because this was by far the biggest show I've set up at, Portland being the second one with about 75 tables in a mall and way fewer people. Do you think at a setup like San Francisco or like the National, for example, it's such a kind of a chaotic and loud and busy atmosphere that you don't really get that chance to have too many one-on-one connections with people because they're moving so fast and they want to just see all the different showcases? So I felt like it was a little more of a conveyor belt of people like moving through and looking rather than actually trying to make a deal and come home with a new card.
Well, as soon as rewinding for a second, when you talked about window shopping, if you're on the YouTube, you're going to see a picture of me and 50 Cent at my high school graduation. So,
No,
yes, I
you know a
graduated with
lot of
his
people.
daughter. We took a picture together. I graduated with his daughter, but yeah, just me and my friend 50 hanging out at high school graduation. But to answer your
Wow.
question, I'm trying to think back to National walking around. I think I had a good opportunity to say hi to a lot of people. But there is so much going on that, I mean, again, we're talking national here, right? So perhaps apples
Right.
and oranges. But
Yeah.
I think I consciously tried to make it a point to see all the booths that I wanted to, check out every table, though you're not going to hit every single one. But don't forget to pick your head up, look for people, make conversation along the way. Um, but being set up and walking is obviously different. So did you get a chance to walk around at all, or any conversations you had with people? Was it all at your table?
No, I did walk around a little bit. My girlfriend was, which special shout out to her. She advocated for me to get a table in the main room. Originally, I was in the hallway and
No
she spotted
brainer.
a table. What?
No brainer.
No brainer. And so she's always like looking out for me, which I really appreciate. And I hope she listens to this so I can get some brownie points. But I was originally set up in the hallway. She spotted a table in the main room, asked the show promoter, Ray, who put on a great show, if I could move into the main room. He said, yeah, they're not coming at that table. And I was like, oh my gosh, this totally changes the game, because I was in the money. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Can you ask your question again? I got too excited.
Yeah, about you getting the chance to walk around,
Oh
converse
yes.
with people, or was all the conversation at your table, which you were set up at?
Yeah, no, I did walk around, and I think a lot of the dealers were feeling the same thing. I was asking them, like, how's the show going, just for a little reporting for our program here. And there were some cool cards. I mean, there were big cards. I'll pull up a picture here of a back-to-back PSA 10 Kabooms rookie year of Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, which Josh Allen's like a 10 grand, Jalen Hurts like 6 grand. And definitely some cool big cards that I was interested in. But also, I was like, I don't know if I'm really trying to spend that much cash. So some of the guys, I was like, hey, come over to my table, see if you like anything for potential trade, and we'll work from there. And that was one of the ways that I did the deal with Ricky for the Kevin Durant flawless patch auto. So it was kind of similar responses from everyone. So it kind of, to me, it's going back to the roots of the hobby, which we've been in it for a long time. You all the way through for like 25 years, and me, I took like a 15-year gap after collecting as a kid. As far as collecting what you really like, the unique stuff, the stuff that makes you feel something, whether it's a New York connection or just a cool Kevin Durant card, and that kind of thing, rather than what can I flip to make a buck,
Also, let's not forget what these are called: trading cards.
right?
Where does the word trading come from? You have some cards, someone else has cards, you like each other's, you make a trade, right? That's the essence of what these were built on.
Yes.
But it sounds like, from what I'm gathering, maybe there wasn't as much cash flowing around, but there was a lot of good vibes and good energy.
Yeah.
And you did mention about people calling you over about trading. I feel like people who are active in the hobby, it's not necessarily they're always looking to buy or sell or trade. It's just something, right? Some sort of action, some sort of move or deal, whatever it is. We're like addicted to the deal. So
Yeah.
sometimes if you can't sell a lot, you find a way to trade, and that's how you stay active that day.
That's true. And you can also find great people to talk with. Like, serendipitously, when I moved into the main room, I met your buddy Vanson. And because there weren't that many deals going on, me and Vanson, who's also a math teacher, and shout out to Vanson with his 1-year-old newborn,
He's the
that
card professor on Instagram.
the card professor. And
Great
Craig, I'm
guy.
sure,
Love Manson.
oh my gosh, such a great guy. And we ended up like becoming friends because we were just talking about not only cards, but his life with his newborn, what his strategy is right now, which players he's going after, which he's also a big Giannis guy like yourself. And we both were in agreement that if Chris Middleton was healthy last year, they probably would have won the championship. So, but this guy's energy and passion and excitement and enthusiasm and friendliness for the hobby, he was greeting people at my table. He was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Great to see you out. Have fun enjoying the hobby." And I'm like, man, this guy is like infectious, with his excitement and positivity.
It's
And it was
genuine
just
too.
great.
It's very
Genuine
genuine and
guy.
sincere.
And you know what? It was funny the way he introduced himself, because on the last episode you mentioned that we'll have people who or you have a friend who's gonna come say hi at the San Francisco card show.
That was
So
him.
yeah, that was Vanson. So he came up behind me. He goes, we're in like a cube and I haven't met him. And he goes, what would be cool if a sports broadcaster was also a sports card collector? And I turned, I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. I'm like, how do you know that? I'm like, are you talking about me? He's like, no, no, no. He's like, no, 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 not really specifically, but that would be a cool thing, wouldn't it? And I'm like, all right. I'm like, the gig is up. Like, I get it. He held his character though too. He was joking around, and then I'm like, you must be buddies with Craig. He's like, who's Craig? And I'm like, okay, come on. So eventually the gig was up, but it was funny the way he met me, and but man, what a great guy, and fun to make a friendship happen over there.
Yeah, that's why we love this. That's why we love going to shows. The cards are cool, but we always talk about the people, the human capital. As my good buddy Sam, the sports card collector, says, That's what makes this whole experience fun. But but
Yep.
sticking to the cards, did you get a sense of what people were looking for? And when I say that, not as vague as, yeah, Jalen Hurts, but maybe a little more specific types of cards, raw, graded, autographs, low numbered. If you had to pick out two or three things maybe that you noticed there was a lot of demand for,
I
or what
noticed,
people were looking at in your showcase, what would you have to
yeah,
say there?
I noticed a lot more stuff for current players from what I observed, at least. Like, most of my stuff is guys who are retired and have stopped playing, stars and Hall of Famers who are done. But I appreciated your compliment when you said how diverse my case was, like different sports, from Pele to Dr. J to the cards you see behind me, and all different football, basketball, mostly a little baseball. But I noticed like the Emmanuel quickly got a lot of looks after I got it and put it in my case. But mainly it was newer guys who have potential. And I learned from these two kids, they were both wearing a Trey Young jersey, which I'll be showing them off in my vlog because we almost came to a deal. But the young guy, he's probably like 10 years old. He wanted full cash for like a $900 Steph Curry in-person rookie auto. And I was like, listen, I gotta do some trade here. But they wanted, and I said, because I want to put my finger on the pulse of the hobby with the youngsters too. And I said, what are you guys looking for? They're like, well, we're looking for guys who are playing now, who are somewhat proven, but still have potential. And I said, they were both wearing Trey Young jerseys. So I said, okay, so like Trey Young. They're like, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, so that kind of makes sense. But my Hall of Fame guys didn't really get too many looks.
So funny you say that because it sounds like those kids are just collecting what resonates with them, right? You enjoy Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, so that's why you look to pick up their cards. Why would a 10-year-old want to pick up and look to trade for Larry Bird or Magic Johnson cards, right? Those cards don't mean anything to them.
Right.
That's why I don't really do vintage soccer. I don't know anything about vintage soccer players. It's, PMGs, 90s basketball, right? Think how popular those sets are. I recently on Instagram, I saw this like 17, 18-year-old kid pick up a PMG. And in my head, I'm like, that's cool, but like, does that mean anything to you? Like, even me, like, the reason PMG doesn't resonate with me is because I just didn't grow up collecting that. Why would this 10-year-old want to collect Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, any of these old school guys if it doesn't mean anything to them, right? They're just simply collecting what they like. And if you're a young kid in this hobby, who do you like? You like all the new up and coming players, Trey, Ja, Anthony Edwards. So
Mhm.
that's definitely an interesting observation. And, it's not surprising. Kids want to collect cards of guys that they're going to watch.
And I think to your point, another interesting thing is like in our buddy Rob, sports card therapist, who I feel it's like obligatory to mention him in basically every episode because
That's our
he's in our
guy.
wolf pack, our definitely our guy, and he's doing great things for the hobby. But like for example, he always talks about the nostalgia he feels for the old Yankees guys. He wasn't around to watch Mickey Mantle, but Mickey Mantle is right there on the top of his pyramid that he always talks about, along with Hulk Hogan. And because of the nostalgia he felt with his dad, who always talked about Mickey Mantle and the old school Yankees greats like Phil Rizzuto, who he's starting a side PC with. And I feel that like with my dad talking about, and he's quite a bit older, he's 75, but he talks about watching Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain go at it on tape delay when you'd find out the result of the game sooner in the newspaper than you'd find out about it on TV because it was a day later, or the Big O, Oscar Robertson, and guys like that. So I feel like with the cash not exchanging hands as much, and you made a great point about the emphasis on trading cards and trading them back and forth. I feel like the hobby's coming back to its roots as far as the love of these players, the cards, the nostalgia, the stories that these players and cards tell a little bit more because there's less of an emphasis now on the money portion since it's not quite there as strongly.
Yeah, that's fair. And similarly, it's the way like my dad's a big Sandy Koufax fan. So every once in a while, if I come across a Sandy Koufax card, I'll scoop it. And do you think my dad has any idea what a 1961 Sandy Koufax and a PSA 4.5 is going for means nothing to him, right? It's just about the
Right.
card. It's about the player that he likes. So Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier is like one of my favorite Knicks of all time. I never saw him play, but I have memories of meeting him when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Memories of being at a bar mitzvah at his restaurant about 5, 6 years ago, where Walt Frazier is complimenting my grandma on her swag, coming from the
Ooh,
swag master himself.
wow. That's a big compliment.
Walt Frazier complimented my grandma on her fashion, which in her defense, my she's got some style. So
I believe it.
it's like personal connections like that. We're gonna have to also pull up the picture of me, my grandma, and Walt Frazier into this YouTube. There's a lot of good YouTube images, so might be worth checking out.
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the wardrobe that your grandma was wearing that got the compliment from the Walt Clyde Frazier.
Yeah, and we definitely went off on a tangent here, but the point being, we like to collect these athletes that we resonate with, and sometimes it's players who we like watching now. Sometimes it's players who we never watched play, but we have a connection to somehow. And
Right.
that's why I picked
And
up this $5 Allen Houston card because I remember watching him as a kid.
that's awesome. And my favorite out of those, to be honest, is the Brian Shaw, because that's a deep cut. You know, to pick up a Brian Shaw card from the NBA
Yeah.
Finals, you know you're a true hoops fan and you're in it for the collecting, which is awesome to see.
But overall, you had a good show. It sounds like you enjoyed yourself, even if there wasn't too much activity. And it
Yeah.
was good
And
to
then,
network and connect.
yeah, exactly. Connecting with people. The cash wasn't quite there. I probably sold about $600 to $700 worth of cards and then put that right back into that Kevin Durant. So, which I'm really happy about. I mean,
Great card.
the patch on that, and I really appreciate how supportive you are. You're like my biggest cheerleader in the hobby as far as texting me. You know, I texted you a picture of this one and you texted me back right away. I'm so happy for you that you got that card.
Well, that's also because you wanted that Kevin Durant from me a few months back. So
Yes.
I'm glad you had your chance.
Yes. And that was, I think, in our first episode
Yeah.
that you brought up the first year flawless patch that I was going after. But
There you
what
go.
about the U.S. men's soccer team, Craig? I mean, we had my full recap on the San Francisco Card Show vlog coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. But what are the cards, players, storylines as the World Cup is just a few days away?
Yeah, I want to when I dive deep into the U.S. men's national team, I really want to give it my all. So I'm going to save a full analysis for next week. Which, even though by the time next week rolls around, they will have already played a game, but I really encourage everyone to turn into the U.S. men's national team's first World Cup game, Monday, November 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern against Wales. I am having a big party in my classroom. We're combining we're combining a end of the year girls soccer team party with card club. I'm getting pizza, we're doing prizes, we're doing trading cards, and
Let's
it's a way to
go.
incorporate cards with the World Cup. I got a whole flyer and everything. So I'm really quite excited for that. But who to look out for? And real quick, if you could see the flyer, which I think I sent to you
Oh,
already,
super
but
cool. Yeah, I saw it in the Wolfpack group chat.
there you go. But I'm going to keep it real simple. I would definitely check out on YouTube and Instagram USMNT Soccer Cards. He's a hobby friend of mine that we talk a lot. He does great analysis of the U.S. players, and he did a really interesting analysis. He went by all the U.S. players, and he went the last 3 months, the top 5 valued card sales of all the U.S. players.
Interesting.
So, to no surprise, Pulisic was number one. Christian Pulisic, he plays left wing for us, so look out for him to score some goals. Weston McKennie is one of our midfielders. He's my personal favorite because he's just such a gritty player, absolute beast in the air, and he'll go in for 50-50 tackles. He's real physical. Look out for Giovanni Reina. Both of his parents were on the national team. He's
Wow.
only 20 years old. He's probably one of our best players. If you're looking at prospecting, you could find his cards in Topps Chrome Bundesliga. You could find Weston McKennie's cards in 2018 Optic. Christian Pulisic, look for his rookie cards in 2016 Select. And two more guys to look out for is Tyler Adams, who's our defensive center mid. He plays for Leeds United. He's got some Topps Chrome Bundesliga rookie cards, some Topps Finest autograph cards, and Brendan Aronson, who also plays for Leeds. He's got some MLS Bowman rookie cards, and you can find some of his short printed cards in Topps Chrome Merlin. So Brendan Aronson, Tyler Adams, Weston McKinney, Gio Reyna, Christian Pulisic. Those are five guys to look out for, just as a small preview. But by the time we record next week, they will already have a game under their belt. I am not really looking to sell my US cards too much. I'm just collecting them and I'm going to enjoy the journey. But go ahead, watch. We're all rooting for Team USA unless we have some international listeners here, but should be a really exciting time.
And I love the response, Craig, that we got. And by the way, great breakdown, very digestible and easy to understand for people who aren't quite in the soccer market or have dipped their toes a little bit and just watched a few soccer games in the last couple months, like me with my FC Barcelona fanship. But we got some great responses last week from your breakdown of the international cards and the biggest names, Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo, Mbappe, Erling Haaland, who isn't in this year's World Cup. Let me ask you this. Is there a stigma against collecting defensive players in soccer? Because you mentioned some defensive guys. Is it similar to like NFL where you mainly want the quarterbacks and NBA where you want the guys who are scoring buckets, of course? Is it similar to that in soccer where you want the goal scorers and not too much the defenders?
I mean, here's an easy way to think about it. For someone who likes watching soccer or any sport, you can't watch every single game. So what are you going to tune to? You're going to, turn to the highlights. So if you're watching the highlights of a soccer game, the highlights are not defensive stops or winning your 1v1 duels or going in for a nice slide tackle. The highlights are goals, assists, shots, crosses into the box, 1v1 moves, beating players off the dribble. So, yeah, defensive players just don't sell the same. Doesn't mean you can't collect them. So, a guy to look out for on the U.S. men's national team who's a little different is because he's our right back. And we play in a 4-3-3 system. So, we expect our outside backs to get up the field and attack. Serginho Dest, real little guy. He's like 5'7" maybe. He played for Barcelona. Now he's on AC Milan. He's super, super flashy, like incredible footwork. So
Okay.
he's a guy to look out for. He plays right defense or right back. And he is someone who can be a goal scoring threat. He had an incredible goal last year against Jamaica. And you could find some of his autograph cards, like from 2020 Topps Finest, at a pretty affordable rate. So he's fun to watch. But generally speaking, yeah, defenders just don't sell the same, similar to like big men in basketball.
Okay. But there are some exceptions, like
Of course.
I don't, you might consider Giannis a big man, even though he dominates the ball, Jokic, Embiid, but they aren't quite to the level of like a Curry and KD. Well, maybe Giannis is getting up there, but it's not quite the collectability factor as the little guys jacking up threes.
Yeah. That's safe to say. But Carmine, I wanna wrap here in a little bit, just because
Okay.
I'm hanging on by a thread. But
I know you are. I know you are. Can I
but
can
I'm
I ask you this real quick
yes,
though, because I feel it's important.
of course.
With your watch party, can you get into the coming up on Monday with your girls soccer team, your card club, some of your other students? Why do you feel it's so important to have a space like that and incorporate cards and watching soccer into a place that can form relationships? Just I know we've talked about this a lot, but just for some of the people listening and watching.
So I was doing some parent teacher conferences tonight, reaching out to parents, giving them updates on how their students are doing, and I was talking to one parent of a student of mine who's in card club, and she was telling me how she's upset because recently he's been coming home late after dark. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know about what he's doing then, but he has been a participant in my card club. And she proceeds to respond, oh, that I want him doing. Because when I saw him come home with the cards and I saw him smiling, I could tell this is something he was really into. So like, that really hit me. I'm like, wow, just getting kids in a classroom and looking at cards and talking sports and finding a sense of community where they could just hang together it just brings a joy that you can't really explain. Something about holding the cards in our hands we all love. So for kids, just providing them with an opportunity that they may have not had before. And I think everyone that's going to be there after school on that day watching, some of them will just be there for the pizza, and that's perfectly fine. But there will be cards involved, and it's just a way for students to connect with one another. And it's a lot of fun, and they seem to enjoy it. And as long as they keep coming back, the cards are still going to be in the classroom.
And I just love that so much, with the development of kids in the hobby, the social aspect, making friends, having something to connect with and say, I'm a part of this, which for kids, that can, I mean, I'm not telling you anything new, but that's so important. And the equality aspect of possibly getting more girls and young women in the hobby as well. Because, you know, we've seen it's a little bit difficult sometimes for any group that's not the main group, you know, young to middle-aged white guys to be in this hobby, and providing a safe space for them to pick up a card and say, oh my gosh, Alex Morgan, or whoever it might be, just an entryway to the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, like, you pretty much said it best. You think of a card show, it's a lot of middle-aged white men, right? But we talked about early on the importance of us, our, like, how we value diversity, and just trying to show that these kids from the inner city, there's a place in this for them too. And it doesn't have to be slinging $1,000 cards, but as long as they're involved in cards, we're doing our part to make this accessible for everyone.
And they have a leader who has the right mindset like you to create these connections and show them based on what you just bought, that 3 for 15 deal with Allen Houston, Rashard Lewis, and Brian Shaw, that
There you go.
clearly your heart is in the collecting part of the hobby.
Yeah, I got in my feels with these three. But yeah, I'm very excited when we speak next to talk about the watch party, talk about the World Cup, talk about whatever pickups you inevitably have in the next week.
Yeah.
And I think that just about wraps it up. Shameless plug. I am running a Whatnot show tomorrow, and for me, that show is not really all about the money. Like, I'm going to be running $1 auctions. It's just an opportunity to hang out with the collecting community. So I guess if you're listening to this, it will be today, but Wednesday, November 16th at 9:30 p.m. on Whatnot. Just come hang. If you want to bid on a card, that's cool too. But come hang. Let's talk soccer, other sports. Should be a really good time. Good way to connect. Carmine, I hope you can make it after work.
Yeah. Oh, I will be
Come
in
on
there,
the
and I'll be.
stream, chime in, and let's talk cards.
What do you do? Do you? I've never been on Whatnot, but I know it's really popular. Can you talk trash on there? Like,
All the trash.
okay, and then you just bid by typing in a message.
No, you just press a button, bid, boom,
Oh,
price goes up, bid. Yeah, it's dangerous in that way, but it's a
oh
lot of
wow.
fun. And like I said, I'm just doing $1 auctions, whatever the cards sell for. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to connect with some people. So yeah, come on the stream Wednesday the 16th at 9:30. Let's hang. Let's talk soccer. Go USA.
Let's go, Los Estados Unidos. Let's go, vamos. That'll be great. I can't. I picked up some Spanish. Well, I was a Spanish minor, Craig, in college too.
And you
Which
went to Barcelona.
yes, and then I went to Barcelona, and I was discussing with the cab driver after a few drinks at the club I mentioned what his World Cup picks were. And I'm telling you what, we were firing back and forth, and you couldn't tell who the real Spaniard was because my Spanish was just coming out.
Nice. But anyway, let's wrap it there. Sorry.
Yeah, I know you're hanging on. You're hanging on, and I appreciate
I
you,
gave you my
you know,
all.
powering
I
through.
gave it my all for the audience tonight.
You did, and you teased the audience about the next episode with more of the U.S. men's soccer team with one game under our belt, the watch party, like you mentioned, and I have some New York Knicks pickups and a Peyton Manning card that you might be impressed by. So people will definitely want to see what that is. I hope.
I do. But Carmine, until next time. Peace.
Peace.